Hello and welcome to episode 139 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. So it's just only been about 2 weeks since I did my little, what's in the whip bag episode, but it's been almost a month since my last regular episode when we talked about, all the things that I finished in December and also my new Crafty bingo card for 2024. So I've had a couple of weeks to be working on projects and I've made some good progress on some things, and I've already knocked I think 1 or 2 squares off my card, or at least made progress towards them. So I'm excited to share with you what I have been working on. I've got a couple of things that I think you will probably be expecting that I had been working on late last year and that just naturally I was going to be able to finish shortly. I have some finished objects. I have one that you haven't seen, but it worked toward my card. I have another finished object that I'm so excited to show you because it was one of the UFOs from the last episode that had been sitting in my stash for so long and I just didn't know what to do with it. And then shortly after the last episode, just boom, an idea came to me and I was able to just sit and focus and just get it done. So I'm excited to show that to you. And then, I just have some other little bits and pieces. So let's get started. It is Thursday naturally, so happy Thursday. Dennis is at work. I've got the house to myself. Kira is right now quietly playing with, I think she was watching a YouTube video where they were painting, and so she just all of a sudden got it in her head that she wanted to paint. And luckily, from my years and years and years and years of accumulating different kind of crafty materials with Avery, I was able to scrounge together some stuff for her. So she is at the table right now painting quietly. We'll see how long that lasts, and we'll also see, I have no idea what kind of mess I'm going to come to after I'm done this and I go see how she's doing. But the main thing is that she is quietly amusing herself. Correct? Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the project that I put right in front of me because it's the biggest one and it's the kind of the most awkward to handle, and I kind of just wanted to get this one done and over with. So when would I have last showed this to you? It wouldn't have been the UFO episode. It would have been probably the last one when I was talking about what I was going to be working on this year and what I did last year, blah blah blah. And it is my mitered square blanket. So I think I had showed you that I had marked off my 2023 section and I added my little 2023 tag. I don't know where that is right now, but I have since sat down and because I was able to finish some projects, I have sat down and I have got this blanket completely up to date right now. So this was the start, this corner here. Which way are we going here? There. This was the first square that I added in for the new year, and you'll remember these 2 squares from the yarns that I used for one of my brother's micro striped socks. So I got those 2 in. The other one, because this had a third color, is down here from last year. So I got these 2 squares in. And then I was able to add the next 2 squares. These are also yarns that I used for my brother's. This was the last pair of brother microstripe socks that I worked on last year over December, and so I got those put in. And then if we go up here to the next row, you'll see that I've got the yarns from my Muppet socks in. So I am working on this year's section of this blanket. Be working in rows of 4 squares and up. So I'm hoping if I have as a productive year as last year, this year, then I should be able to make quite a few rows, add quite a few rows to my 2024 section of my mitered square blanket. So now I can put that blanket back in its little corner until I accumulate a whole bunch more sock weight leftovers from other projects that I work on, and then I will slowly add to that. So that is done. So as you may have noticed from that, I added my Muppet sock yarn, which means that I have finished my Muppet socks. Where was I with these the last time I shared them with you? I don't think I worked on them at all in December because I had put these aside to work on my brother's Christmas socks. And I don't remember where I was. I think I had finished the first sock. I might have been working on the second sock. But basically, after Christmas was over, and then I think I worked on maybe one or... Did I work on this? I don't remember. I have a feeling that I did one other project that I'll show you in a little bit that I knew was going to be a quick project. I think I buckled down and worked on that. And then once that was done, I sat down and I powered through these to get these done. Because starting in February, usually most years in January, I like to work on a pair of socks for myself. When I was doing the Desert Vista Dye Works Challenge, January was always a pair for myself. And then February, I would start my gift pairs, and I would start with my brother Owen because his birthday's in February. That's how my brain logically, put the order of people that I was working on socks for. And so I knew I wanted to try and get all my socks done that I currently had on the needles done in January so that I could start my gift socks in February. Okay. So I powered through these and I got these done. So these are I call them my Muppet socks because the striping yarn that you see here was one that I received in a club many, many moons ago, and it was a Muppet themed club, and I think the yarn way was called... it was something to do with animal. I don't remember what the colorway was called, but it was something to do with animals. So it was all the animal colors, like the bright pink, the red, the orange, the black. And then I had dyed this yarn here to go with it because I really wanted something that was going to pop against those colors for the micro stripes. So I finally got these done, maybe last week or so, and I am so happy that I can start wearing these because I don't know what it is, because it shouldn't make a difference, because with microstripe socks, it's not like their color works, so like the fabric is extra cushy or whatever. You're just alternating rows. So technically, they are just a regular stocking knit sock. But there's something about all my microstripe pairs of socks that I already have in my little sock rotation. They are the first ones that I reach for. There's something about them that either makes, I don't know what it is, because there's nothing about them that should make them more comfortable than other socks. But somehow they are more comfortable than other socks, and I'm just always reaching for those first. So I am so excited to have another pair of microstripe socks in my sock drawer, especially in this colorway. And I will add, I have a fair bit of these yarns. I think I already put them away. I think you can see the aqua's right there, and I think that's the Muppet one right there. I already put them back in my sock cubby there because there's enough there to make another pair of socks. And I'm thinking of making maybe a shorty pair, or like, not a shorty pair, like where there's no cuff, but a shorter pair compared to these, where instead of microstriping them, I just do this as the contrast, and then the striping yarn just the way it was designed to be. And I think it might be fun to have another pair with like the same colors but different. Anyway, so I might work on those later this year. But anyway, long story, these are done, and I am so happy that I can bring them upstairs now, put them in my sock drawer. Maybe I'll even wear them tomorrow. Who knows? So those are done. Okay, so next thing, let's go into the other pair of socks that I'm working on. One moment, I'm going to put one of them on my sock blocker. Okay, so these were the other socks that you would have seen last year that I was working on. And I think I had stopped working on these back in the fall, because they were my go-to. Did I talk about these in the last episode? I think I might have. How they were my kind of summer pair to take around to the parks. It was a sock blank, so it was really nice because I didn't have to worry about the yarn tangling in the needles when we were on the go. And then once we had finished in the summer, and I wasn't going to the parks as much, I wasn't working on these as much, especially once we got into my gift knitting. So once I finished my Muppet socks, and once I finished the other thing that I'll show you in a bit, I decided just to sit down and buckle down and work on these socks. Now they are not done, but I have made a ton of progress. I think the last time I showed you these, I was still on the first sock. I might have been on the leg, or I might have been in the heel somewhere. I didn't bother to sit down and like rewatch, a couple episodes ago to see where I was. But I know I was on the first sock, and I know I think I had maybe finished. Maybe I was in the leg. So since then, I have finished the, I got my little markers there. I have finished the leg, I got the heel done, and I know that I was working on the foot recently, so I've just been powering through the foot. I've got my markers in. I like to put them in every 10 rows so that I can easily count my rows, because for my foot I count rows for all the different people. So for me, I know I like 65 rows after I finish the heel. I think my mom is 60 rows, my brother's 75 rows. So yeah, I just like to put my markers in so that I can easily track where I am. And yeah, I finished the first sock, and I will say, I know in the last episode I talked about how I was working on these from a sock blank. This is what the sock blank looks like. I've had this for many, many years. And when I cast these on, my intention was to make these for myself. And I wasn't, I just wasn't like so attached to how it was knitting up. I wasn't like, ooh, I need to have these socks. So I had decided, I had talked about this last time, so I was going to finish these up and then give them to one of Avery's old teachers who still wears the socks that I made her many years ago. And I will admit, now that the sock is done, I do like how it looks a lot more, but I still don't think I'm so attached to it that I want to keep it. I think I'm still going to give it to Avery's old teacher. So this is how the first sock looks, and then this has just been a couple of days work. I have just been booking it on this second sock. This is where I am on the second sock now. So you can see I think I just cast this on like maybe 3 days ago, but I got the cuff done, I've got the leg done, and then just last night I started the heel turn. So I've got my little heel turn, there's my increases. So just as a reminder, I like to do the strong heel. I think if you Google that, there should be an explanation, and then there are quite a few patterns on Ravelry that use a similar heel. I learned it from the Jangle socks, but I think like Vanilla is the New Black is a popular one, and it uses the same type of heel as well. But I've got my increases there, I've got my heel turn done there, and I have recently joined, actually just this morning, I joined back in the round, and I'm working on the foot. So I am going to keep just plugging away on those. I'm hoping in the next maybe 3 days, so by the weekend, today's Thursday, by the end of the weekend, I would love to have that sock done so that I can cast on my brother's, the first pair of Christmas socks that I will be working on this year for my brothers. And I have not selected the yarn yet, so I don't have that to show to you, but next episode, we'll see what it is. So yeah, I've been working on those, and then I think all the other things that I have to share with you today are new projects or new iterations of those projects. So let's start with this one. This is something that I knew I was going to cast on in January because I made a couple of them in December, and I knew the pattern was very, very, very quick, and I could get it done, and it was it worked for a square on my bingo card, and yeah, I just knew that I could get that square. It would be a nice, easy, fast square that I could accomplish in January. So this is another grateful hat. I think I mentioned during Vlogmas when I shared the ones that I made for Avery and Kira that I was planning on making one for myself, and that's what I did. And this is how it turned out. I used some hand spun, which I still have somewhere over here, excuse me. So this is the hand spun that I made in 2022. Usually every year on my Crafty bingo card I'll have a square that says, spin some hand spun, 1 or 2 skeins, and in 2022 this is the skein that I had made, and I held that together double along with some of the leftover twinkle yarn that I used in Avery and Kira's hat, and that gave me this effect here. So just a super, super quick pattern. Again, like I know I can make this now in like 2 days max. It's awesome. And then I put a pom-pom on their hats, and I have tried this on without a pom-pom, and it's still pretty cute, but I think a pom-pom really suits this design. So I will be looking for a pom-pom. So technically the knitting part is done. the hat is not like done, but the knitting part is done, so I'm considering this done, especially since I don't know when I'm going to get a pom-pom. I'm considering making some hat kits for the shows that I have this coming year, and I might order a bunch of pom-poms to include with those, and I'll probably end up nabbing one for this. I'm thinking either a black pom-pom, or if they have like a nice rich purple or teal pom-pom, I think that will really suit the yarn. So yeah, really pleased with this. And then that knocks off the square on my bingo card was to make something with handspun, because I have so much handspun, and I just don't tend to make things with it because the yardage tends to be pretty small, and so the things that you would typically think to make with like one skein, they're not usually things that I use. Like, you know, a cowl, you can only have so many cowls, and I have cowls and my exploration station shawl that are just my go-to kind of neck warmers. So I don't need any more shawls. I'm not really a hat wearer. I don't need, you know, there's just a lot of small projects that I don't need out of handspun, so I don't tend to use my handspun. So this was, yeah, my goal this year was just to make something with a skein of handspun, and I quite like how this turned out, and it is a thick worm hat. I do have some hats, but I don't have like a thick worm hat, so yeah, this will be good. Even though, other than that 1 week that I mentioned last time where we had a super frigid cold week, this winter, knock on something, has been incredibly mild, and I have even seen our chipmunk even this week. I saw our chipmunk this week because it is just not that cold out. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to, or I don't know if I'll need to use a super warm hat this year, but when I do, I will have one. So yeah, that is another finished object that I have to share with you. And then finally, before I think I discuss what's in that little basket there, I have the project that I am so excited to share with you. So, last episode, we went through all my bags, right? We went through all my UFOs, and I showed you some that I have had for years and years and years, and that I just didn't know what to do with. And one of them was that owl blanket that I had started out of handspun yarn for Avery. I did check the Ravelry page. I think it was like 2014 or something. 2014 or 2015 is when I started it, so she would have been turning either 3 or 4. She was in that range, around 3 or 4 years old when I started this project. And I had gotten so far on it. You remember I had, you know, a whole bunch of pieces done. I think I had all the individual pieces done, but I hadn't even finished like all of the pieces. So I had the number of pieces that I needed, but like the round owl pieces, I still had to do a border on those before I could put it into a blanket. But as I explained last time, I had just lost all my interest. All the interest that I had in finishing that project as it was supposed to be, I had just completely lost interest. But because I had done all the pieces out of handspun, and I had quite a bit of it, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want to waste the handspun, but I also didn't want to finish the project. And then it was just a couple of days after I put the episode up, I had the idea. I was like, okay, how hard was it? Because part of the thing with the pieces is I didn't also want to rip them out, because there's something in my head about when you have a finished thing that has all the ends woven in, undoing those and ripping it out can sometimes be very overwhelming and tedious. It's a tedious process. And I was like, do I really want to rip all those little pieces out? What am I going to do with all those scraps, even if I did do that? So after a couple of days, I had this idea. I was like, okay, let's just sit down. Let's take one of the owl pieces and let's see how long it takes to rip it out. Let's see how much of a pain in the you-know-what it is to undo these pieces. And so I took an owl piece and I found the ends, and I picked it out and I undid it and I wound it up into a little ball, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. So I was like, okay, every day I'm going to just sit and I'm going to undo a few pieces, and then we'll see what we have. Because what I was thinking of doing is I had, if you'll remember, I'll show them because I kept those intact. There was some square pieces that I had already done all the border on, and I had 12 of those. So I had a nice even number. So my thought was, what if I were to join those pieces, so 12, I had 12 total, what if I were to join a row of 6 join a row of 6, and those could be like the ends of a blanket. And then I used all the other hand spun yarn that I had and did kind of stripes with that yarn to kind of incorporate it all together to make another blanket, because Avery doesn't have a blanket that I have kept for her. I think that's what the owl blanket was supposed to be. Kira actually has a blanket that I have put in her memory box that I had been working on before we knew she was on the way, and it was just kind of a blanket that I was working on and putting all my good positive juju in. And so she used that the first couple of months in the stroller, and then I have put that in her memory box. And Avery doesn't have one of those, and I think that's what the owl blanket was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a blanket that I then kept and put in her memory box. So this way I was able to take that and turn it into a blanket that I can now put in her memory box. So they both have one. That was a very long-winded explanation. If you were able to follow along with my trail of thought there, kudos to you. But this is what I ended up with. So like I mentioned, I had those little square motifs, and I joined 6 of them in a row to make the front, or the top and bottom, beginning and end, if you will, of the blanket. And then I took all the little scraps. So I think for these rows I combined 2 scraps of the owl pieces. So these are 2 owls. And then I did a little bit of the speckled yarn. And one of the issues I had mentioned when we were discussing the blanket the first time was that all the speckled yarns that I had dyed for this blanket, or overdyed, or not really overdyed, I had spun bare yarn and then I speckled it after, but all the speckles ended up being different, so none of them look the same. So by alternating it, I think it kind of spread that out. So I did 2 owl pieces and then some of the speckled yarn, and then 2 owl pieces, and then another one of the speckled yarns, 2 pieces, and I just kept doing that all the way down, and I ended up with a blanket. And so those are the other 6 square motifs, and you can kind of see here, I think I took some pictures of it. I will put them up on the screen, or maybe one of them up on the screen, just so you can see it in the whole. But I am so happy that I was able to get that. That was taking up 2 bags on my shelf, and I was able to not only get those bags emptied out and off my whip shelf, but I was able to get something out of it that I'm really, really pleased with, and that is still kind of in line with the project, the original project. I did decide to block it, because when I was done crocheting the middle part, because I had to attach that 6 square border on after, I had to kind of stitch it on. The ends were a little wonky, so one end was a little wonkier than the other end. And then, oh, the other thing I did, I still had some pieces left after I did that, and I just used those to go around and create a border. You can see there's green there, and there's yellow, so that's some owl pieces too. And so yeah, the border it was just a little wonky, and I was like, okay, how am I going to block this? And what I ended up doing, and it worked really well, is that I just put it in my washing machine. All the fiber was superwash yarn, so I just kind of crossed my fingers. But I just put it in the washing machine. I set it to a quick wash, and then I changed all the settings so that it was like cold water, like not an intense spin, and not like, I just made everything like very, very minimal. And that way it kind of just, yeah, it just kind of got all the little lumps and bumps out. And then when it was done, the spin cycle, it was just damp enough that I could just I was able to lay it out on a towel, and just kind of pat it out and shape it a little bit, and then it dried, and it's like, it's a nice even, it's a perfectly even little blanket now. And yeah, that's gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna put it in Avery's closet. She has a little box in there, and done. So that actually works towards another square on my card, which was finish a pre-2024 whip. But yeah, that's like pre like way back, and that just makes my little heart happy that I was able to do that. So the last thing I want to share with you is kind of an update, and I should mention, because this kind of relates to my bingo square as well. I am wearing my blue sweater. I don't know what this pattern was. I want to say igneous, but I have a feeling that that's not correct. It starts with an I. I'm going to put a little picture up in a corner there of what the pattern that this was based on, I think I did a lot of modifications, but the part that I really liked about the pattern was the neckline, ironically, because that's the part that's making me want to redo this sweater. But anyway, so that I will put up in the corner there in case you're curious. But I made this many years ago, and I don't wear it, but I love the color. I love this color on me. I just love this color in general. I think it's a really, really pretty color. But I don't wear this sweater because I should have known better. It was one of those things where I love the look of it. Like I love the look of this. It's got like, I don't know if you can even tell, but there's like this stitch pattern that just makes it really textured and interesting. And I love the look of it. And I even made it shorter because I know I don't like sweaters that have like turtlenecks and stuff. So I made it shorter thinking that it wouldn't bother me. But it does. It bothers me every time I wear this. If it so much as like grazes my neck and my chin, it just irritates me to no end. I just don't like sweaters that are up on my neck like this. And so I never wear this sweater. But I love this color. And I love the length of it. I love the hem that I did. I did a split hem. The sleeves I find pretty comfortable because I did them a little bit shorter. I don't like things around my wrist. So there's so many things that I love about this sweater, but this part makes me not wear it. So I had put on my bingo card that I wanted to fix this sweater. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to figure it out. And so I put that on my bingo card. So I decided, hey, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wear this a couple of times. I'm going to try my best to wear this a couple of times and just really see if it bothers me as much as I think it bothers me, or is it even something that like maybe I don't like any parts of it anymore and I should just rip this out, because even though I put on my square that I want to fix the blue sweater, every June usually I allow participants of the Crafty Bingo Challenge. If you're not familiar with this challenge, head over to the Bling Eastern group because you can still join. You can join anytime during the year, and it's just a super fun challenge. But in June, I allow people to change up to 3 things on their cards. And so I was like, I need to figure out if this is something I even want to fix, because if I don't and I want to rip it out, I'm going to need to change that square, and I'm going to need to do that in June. So I need to figure out before June what's happening with this sweater. So I decided to wear it today. And I can already tell you it's been irritating me so much today. I don't think I can wear it like this. I just don't think I can. So I think I'm going to have to either fix it or rip it out. And the only thing I can think to do to fix it, ideally I would love a V-neck, but I just don't know how I'm going to end up doing that. Second choice would be, if I was going to fix it, is I think I'm going to have to, because it's raglan shaping, of course I had to make this so complicated, but I think if I run a needle through an entire row around and then cut off above that needle, rip that yarn out, and then pick up, I might be able to do like a wide neck, like a scoop neck kind of thing, maybe a little slightly off the shoulder design, because I do have a little bralette that is the exact same color as this, and I thought that might be cute to wear under it if I did kind of like a little, like a wide scoop neck, like a boat neck or something like that. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. If I'm going to fix it, I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to alter it. And then if that doesn't work, I'm just going to have to rip it out. I'm going to have to rip it out and make something new, because I do love this yarn. So that was a whole aside, but it was kind of relevant still because it was about my bingo card and a square on my bingo card. But another thing that I ended up having to change on my bingo card. So I think when I last talked about my bingo cards, the beginning of January, one of the squares on there, I had 2 squares that related to a sweater that I want to make this year. And one was I wanted to knit the cumulus again because I really like that pattern. But because the yarn that I had to knit it isn't the kind of, it's not the color that I want, a second square was to dye the finished sweater the color that I want. Okay. So after I talked about that, and after I posted my bingo card, and I was just like, okay, here's my bingo card, it's all done. I was like, I better make sure that like this is gonna work. So I decided to dig out the yarn that I had in mind, and it's this yarn here. This is a wool cotton mix, and I don't enjoy working with cotton on its own, but mixed with wool, I really, really love the texture and the feel and just how it knits up, and it still washes really well, I find. So I had this wool cotton mix, and this is what I was going to make. And as you can see, it's kind of a gray color, but I wanted a dark brown, and I thought, you know what, this would over dye to be a dark brown and still kind of had this nice like kind of variation and stuff like that. So that was my plan. But I was like, how many of these balls do I have? So I went through my stash. I only have 10 of these. 10 of these, and these are 50-gram balls. I don't know in what world I thought 10 50-gram balls was going to make me a sweater, because I'm not a tiny person. But yeah, I looked at the cumulus pattern. I was like, okay, how much yardage do I need? You know, can I make it shorter? Can I make this? No, there is no way. There is no way in any world that I would be able to make a sweater for myself with only 10 50-gram balls. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I really want the cumulus sweater. I really want to make another cumulus sweater. What yarn do I have in my stash? Because I mentioned before, I really want to try not to buy yarn this year again, other than for that blanket project that I want to do. And so the other yarn that I had in my stash, and you might see where this is going if you've been watching for a while, was this. I had this yarn, and you may recognize this. I used this yarn to make the trestle tee, and I still have 6 or 7 balls of this, okay? Now 6 or 7 50-gram balls are also not a lot or enough to do anything. I think I was saving this because I was like, oh, maybe I can make Avery a sweater, maybe I can make Kira a sweater or something. But it's not enough to do any major project for me with. And then I was thinking, okay, all the rest of the yarn plus that is in my trestle tee. Have I worn the trestle tee at all since I made it? And the answer is no. And part of that might be like, okay, it hasn't been the season for it. I think I finished it last spring. You know, I didn't really wear it in the summer, and then I'm not gonna wear it in the winter. Fine, you know, maybe I need to give it another chance this spring and summer. But there were several times where I pulled the trestle tee out to put it on, and I had made a little outfit, and I put it on, and after a minute or two, I took it off. I don't like. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right when I put it on. It just never felt like a garment that I wanted to wear. And so I was thinking, I have all this yarn that is sitting in the trestle tee that I am not using, but in combination with the 7 balls that I have left, that would be enough to make another cumulus. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to pull my trestle tee out and frog the entire thing. And because it was fairly early in January, I did make a change on my card then, and I changed the one square. I kept the make the cumulus square, but I changed the die, the cumulus square, to frog my trestle tree, because I knew it was going to be quite an undertaking, because it was a finished garment, and when I finish something, I weave my ends in really, really well, and it is always very tedious to find the ends and to undo them and stuff. So I did it in little chunks. I sat down every day and ripped out a little bit. I think it took me 3 or 4 days to get everything ripped out and balled up, but it is done. I have the yarn ready to go, and that is going to be, it's going to turn into another cumulus. So that is all the stuff that I have been working on in the last couple of weeks. There's some exciting things in there. So shall we do goals again? Obviously I didn't have any goals that I was working on for this episode because, yeah, it's only been a month. But let's think of some goals that I want to work on for the next episode. I think for sure, those sock blank socks are going to be done. And then I also am going to want to block them because I think the stitching just looks a little uneven with the sock blank. If they were for me, I wouldn't care so much, but because I'm planning on giving them as a gift, you can kind of see they look kind of bumpy and bumpy. So I want to finish those sock blank socks and block them, and then maybe I'll keep them around. Yeah, I should probably keep them around to show you, be a good little podcaster, and then afterwards I will send them to school with Avery with a little note for her teacher. I just saw Chippy run across our porch. See, he is out and about, and he is just scurrying and enjoying this warmer weather. But yeah, so next episode, I want to finish the sock blank socks. I want to cast on whatever yarn I pick out for Owen's first pair of socks. I would love to make 2 pairs each for my brothers again this Christmas, but we will see. But I would like to pick out the yarn for his first pair and have those cast on. And then I would like to cast on my cumulus. I've actually intended to do it. There's been a couple of days where I've thought, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to cast on the cumulus. And then just the idea of sitting down, getting the pattern out, figuring out my cast on number, getting those first rows started. It's just kind of just not where my brain space is right now. So I've just been putting it off. But for the next episode, I want to cast on the cumulus. And is there anything else that I think I would do? I don't think so. Do I want to cast on a second pair of socks? We'll see. Maybe I'll have 2 pairs of socks cast on, because sometimes I do like to have more than 1 pair. We'll see. We'll see. It's winter. We're not going anywhere. I don't really need a travel project. So I might just cast on the 1 pair and just like power through versus having 2 on the go and alternating. So yeah. I think that is it. I think that's the 3 goals. I'm just going to leave those 3 goals. For next episode, those are the 3 goals that I want to have. I think those are should be pretty easy to accomplish, so I'll have something to show you next time. And yeah, that is it for today's episode. So I hope that you are enjoying your evening, your morning, your weekend, whatever it is, and you are working on all the things that bring you joy. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye.